Hello everybody, this is not how I wanted to start my channel. I am a motor trade professional. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, in fact over 25 years, that's scary to think. And I worked in a very senior position in the fleet industry for about 12 years, give or take, before starting up on my own this year. And it's been an okay year. It's got to October, November, and we've seen the car prices, I think he said house prices, car prices are starting to fall like stones. And to be fair, the market is slowing down, but there's this like catastrophic impact of, oh my god, these car prices are falling like you've never seen before. And I've just opened up an article from AM Online going into how used car values continue to realign after a 4.2% fall in November. And I want to draw you, I was reading this and I was fuming at the start, and I got to one line and I had to get up and I had to have a scone with some jam because I couldn't take it anymore. I needed a cup of tea and some sustenance. SUVs fell by 4.9%, or around £940 on average. So if £940 is 4.9%, that puts SUVs at about, what, 20 grand? That's what percentage of the market is that? Like, I'll get to the point about 1 to 3 year old cars in a minute, but they're talking about a 5% drop in a market segment that is not what most motor traders are in. The people that this is aimed at are not going to be reading this article thinking what they want us to think. Most of the guys that read AM Online, like me, like you, or like other traders in the business, that read this, and they'll see that and they'll see 5% and think, wow, that's a lot of money. And they'll see £1,000 or £940, they'll think, God, that is a lot of money. But the segment they're talking about is the 1 to 3 year old cars. These are cars that came from the pandemic era. And having worked in fleet in that time, sorry, someone obviously wants to get hold of me on my phone. Apologies about that. It's obviously really important. Yeah, these cars came from the pandemic era. And what happened was, during the pandemic was, end of February, beginning of March, as you know, everyone, all the car manufacturers, no, stop, can't do any more, stop. So everything stopped. Production lines, the whole lot just came to a grinding halt. And then we had maybe a 4 to 6 week period would have been around June, July time that year, when the cars that were in the pipeline started to come back through. So the cars that were stuck on ships or in ports or whatever, they came through to dealers and they were delivered. But after that 6 weeks, so from July onwards, for the rest of the year, the manufacturers prioritised the 40, 50, 60,000 pound cars like your e-trons, your EQSs, your EQCs, those sort of things, your Teslas. They were all promoted because the manufacturer in a situation where they couldn't build normal cars because they didn't have any chips because they were stupid. So the chips they did have, they repurposed to make sure they went into the most profitable cars they could produce, and they were your EVs and your high value cars. So you had none of your, really very few Astras, Mondeos, Focuses, 308s, those sort of cars, very, very few of those coming through for the rest of 2020, and to be fair, a lot of 2021. We actually had, in the company that I work for, one of the clients we dealt with, one of their drivers had an A-Class on order and had been on order since December 2019. So there was a 3 to 4 month waiting list before you actually got your car built. So she unfortunately fell into this period where her car was delayed being built because of the pandemic. 15 months later, in March 2021, they were told that their order had been cancelled because they weren't going to build that car anymore, and she'd have to reorder. And then when she had to reorder, she had to get to the back of another 15-month waiting list. So that's a 30-month wait for a new car. That was your bread and butter car, your A classes, like I said, that segment of car. So when you say in your article, AM Online, that SUVs have fallen by 4.9%, that's not realistic, and it's not realistic of the market. £940 has not been the average decline last month. I'm sorry, it just isn't. It may be in that market, but you need to make people clear of that. And when you make that clear to people, you also need to make sure that everyone's aware of the situation surrounding that period. For 18 months, and which is why there's such a huge disparity in pricing and everything's all over the place price-wise, is because you've got a year and a half of normal cars not being built. A year and a half of EVs and high value, profitable cars for the manufacturers being produced and registered and put out through fleet. I don't know any retail person that would have gone out and bought a new Fiesta in that time without going on to a significant waiting list. Same with Corsas, same with anything. I even know of, and this is something you need to be aware of if you received either a fleet car or you purchased a car during that period. I even heard of, and I don't know if these cars came to market, so I will get to the story eventually, came to the UK market, but there were Peugeots that couldn't, the chip they were missing was the one that controlled the speedometer and the mileometer, odometer, and they had to retrofit a analog Jesus, let me say this properly, an analog mileometer to the cars that would normally have a digital one. That's how poorly a lot of those cars are fitted. I know of cars that had trim specs that had nowhere near the amount of trim that should have been on them because they just couldn't build those cars because it didn't have the chips for them. So you might have got a Mini Cooper with a chili pack or a pepper pack, and I guarantee you it won't have half of those specs on there. But the companies and the lease providers had to pay exactly the same amount for them because guess what? If they didn't want them, there'll be another guy down the road that would pick them up. That sort of thing, again, nobody says anything about that in the trade press. It's all about doom and gloom and how things are hitting us and whatever. And it boils my blood. And like I said, I really wanted to start this channel with a, this is how I'm starting my business, and this is if you want to get into the motor trade, this is what you want to have to do, and you want to watch out for these things. And I've pontificated for months about getting a camera out, sitting down in front of it and saying what I needed to say. Fair play to AM Online. They've done that today. They've made me get it out. No, I literally haven't got a mic. You're listening to the camera mic, which is so unprofessional and crap, but I can't find my DJI mics. But this is not right. So if you are a motor trader out there, or you're a car buyer, or you're thinking of buying a car and you're looking at these prices going down, if you've got less than 10 grand to spend, ignore all this. You try and find a nice car for around 6 grand now. You're trying hard. And again, anything sub 6k is an absolute bun fight from the point of view for the dealers, from the point of view of the dealers and punters as well. Those cars are still in huge demand, and if there has been a price drop, it's purely seasonal. And when we get to January, I honestly don't think that, whether that will come back, I don't know, but we're talking about £100 here, £150 maybe per car over November and December, which is absolutely normal. The cars that you're seeing that are dropping by £1,000 are the ones that are going to be £35,000 or £30,000 in your dealerships. I've got just out the window there, I've got a 69 plate Kona with 40,000 miles on it. Even that's 11.5 grand. You know, the cars they're talking about, 20 grand cars, they're all the ones that came from that pandemic. Sure, the Kona will drop £200 or £300, but that's because it's a 12 grand car. I've got cars I've got a Golf, I've got a Fiat 500, a Civic, a RAV4, a Mocha, none of those are going to drop anywhere near, when I say Mocha, not the new EV Mocha, the old ones, none of those are going to drop that amount in that space of time. Rant over. Sorry for bleating at you. I say I wanted to come across very positive for my first video, and I've basically done a poor version of JM, so apologies to him for sitting at my desk and ranting, but that's where we are. Yeah, do us a favour, if you want me to continue, not this rant but another rant or on with the business, give me a like and subscribe, because like I said, first video we've put out, and it will really help with my application if you gave me a sub, just to show there's people out there do care. So thanks a lot for your time, and hopefully be back soon with more information, more rants, more motor trade info, who knows. Come back and find out. Cheers guys.